wherever anybody in the meeting tonight is. Now, I'd like to also introduce Oliver. So Oliver von Borstel is the CEO of Masters of Business Development. He has a lot of experience in the hearing sector. He's worked internationally. I have forwarded to everybody some testimonials from some of his happy clients. Oliver's trademarked a sales strategy around non-manipulative ethical selling, which I think is going to be really beneficial to HBA members. And I might just hand over to you now, Oliver, to start.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, Jane. It's a good idea to record it and share it then to the members.
Sorry, Oliver,
Hello.
I forgot to mention to members that Oliver's actually joining us tonight from the Netherlands. Well, today for him, but tonight for us. So thanks for doing that, Oliver.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So I say hello to Down Under from the Netherlands. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's nice weather here because it's the beginning of the summer. I'm honored to present to you my concept, which is called non-manipulative ethical selling. You see it in on the bottom line. It is about sales and business development mindedness. I'm aware that typically audiologists or audiometrists, however you want to call them, hearing care professionals, hate the word selling, but actually we are salesperson, because we give an advice about an individual best, most optimal hearing aid solution, and at the end of a trial period there will be a bill printed out which has to be paid. So that makes us actually strongly involved in sales. I want to show you within 15-20 minutes max how my concept works and what the benefits are because of that. So briefly introduce myself. It's a very small company. I have Bob besides me as a business partner in Europe, in the Netherlands. But I also cooperate with partners worldwide. One among others is Jim Ullery in America. So that's not so interesting. More interesting is the background I have. I've did some studies in business economics and marketing management, but since 2006, I'm doing what I'm doing still at the moment, and this is helping others to improve the business. I've put already in 2008 a strong focus on the hearing aid industry. So I train and personal coach them. Mainly it is independent dispensers, but also now and then producers. Like yesterday, actually, I trained and coached salespersons from Starkey here in Europe. In all I do, I always want to do custom made. So when it comes to Australia, of course, I will Australiazing it before I roll it out there. But overall, it's always my goal since 2006. I want that my clients say, Oliver, it was not for free, your concept. We had to pay for it, but we earned it back. So it's up to me now to convince you that it is really so. So which are my clients? It's producers and independent hearing aid dispensers. And what you see down here, it's also a company in Australia. So that makes me very proud that I have a client in Western Australia, in Bunbury and Busselton. But I also have a client called OptiTrade. OptiTrade is a service organization here in the Netherlands. It's similar to HBA. They supply independent hearing aid dispensers, as well as, before the most of you joined, they also have a client in South Africa called Audiology Private Practice Forum, which is also a service provider for independent hearing aid dispensers. Will be there in South Africa end of July. They have an event, the yearly event, and they invited me as a keynote speaker about ethical selling, but also to convince the Australian independent hearing aid dispensers to follow my trainings down there. So go through the slides, don't want to bother you with unnecessary things. What most of the independent dispensers, just call them dispensers, it's audiologists, audiometrists, and so on, is all of them have a challenge like how to distinguish ourselves from the big ones. The big ones which throw around with discounts, low prices, better than others, and so on. Other challenge is that audiologists are not really salespersons, and they all say, but yeah, how do I convince now my clients with tricks that they buy the high-end solution, which is actually the best for them? So I always tell them it's not about tricks. It's rather serious selling. It's how do I professionally handling concerns and objections? How do I convince for a trial period? And above all, how can we improve our turnovers, the average sales price, and finally the profit? It is, in my concept, a major goal is, besides all of this, is to create end customer fans, because they do the proactive word of mouth, and they recommend you to others. I have an example here how important it is to lift the percentage of private sales out of the pocket sales, which most of all times means the high-end sales. This is an example of the figures OptiTrade, the service providers here in the Netherlands, has spread. They have 120 members. They sold to the members 35,000 hearing aids, and they presented in the January webinar. It was 29% high-end sales and 71% devices, low-end devices paid by Medicare. And amazing is, and this is the same or similar in Australia or South Africa or other European companies, it has a share, the high-end sales have a bigger share on the turnover than the Medicare devices. So that brings me where almost every independent dispenser struggles is, Jesus, what do we have to do? What would happen if we can lift my 15% share, 10%, 25% share to a higher? It would mean a higher turnover, a much larger profit. But what I say, yes, that's true, but I also want to help you that this will create the customer fan who does the recommendation of you with others. So this is the main challenge when I talk to independent dispensers is how do we change our own mindset that we get there. So I will help them with my concept. So let me tell you briefly, don't want to go into the big details, how I help them. My ethical selling concept, which I invented in 2008, of course, it's every quarter of a year I improve it, working on it, is based on actually the person-centered care model, which the IDA Institute in Denmark has described. I extended that because I call it's actually not person-centered care, it's person-centered cure. With the hearing aid solution, the individual best, the most optimal, you want to help a client that they are able to lead conversations, hear others in a noisy environment, and much more than that. I also recognize that internationally, dispensers are rather focused on audiograms and the devices, the brand, the models, than on everything else. So what you see in all the dark blue dots here is very important. One of the most important thing is actually the after-sales services. You are not there yet if a client has bought it. A real fan needs after-sales services, and that's what I put the focus on in my concept. Briefly explained, I have a day one training session, training workshop. I call it business development training workshops. The level one is about actually the selling part, the assessment meeting, the consulting process with the client. It has two major goals, this level one first day training. It is the goal one is they have to convince with arguments and facts a client to do that trial period. Second goal is I want to convince them what's really best is for them with one advice, and don't let them choose out of a selection of hearing aids because they can't choose, they are not experts, but we are experts. In the day two training, it is about what happens from the time when we have a date in our agenda for a for a trial period. What happens then? What is necessary to still convince the client that this is what you need? I have two goals in the level two 1 day training, which is following the day one, is 0% negative trial period and creation of 100% customer fans. Most of you tell me, Oliver, that's not realistic, 100% and 0%. I always return that with, but do you agree? It's theoretically possible. And all of them say, yes, theoretically, yes, but in the real life, says, I know. But let's then go for 10% and 90%. What about that? So I mean, always set the goals very high, and I help my clients in doing so. I also have a symbolically level 3. This is what I do with most of my clients. I don't just let them follow the day one and day two. I also want to physically help them to convert, to actually to really implement the ethical selling methodology and concept into their own practice. So I call that's a personal coaching. I personal coach them. I'm available in assessment meetings, sell myself as a colleague, audiologist, audiometrist, and I'm sitting there while the client is available. So this has a major impact, which I tell you later what I mean. So in the day one, which is about the selling part, how to convince a client, how to deal with objections, I handle a lot of necessary skills. It's a nasty word, sales skills. It's really about how to non-manipulative, in an ethical sense, convince them to accept my advice, which is in my belief the best for them. In the day two, we do, besides role playings, we go much more into it, the open-ending question part, but we also learn how to use 3 sales tools which I developed. I call them the cozy sales tools. It's really custom made for the dispensing industry. And in the laboratory, I help them on the job, and I convince them get a certification of ethical selling, which you could stick onto your front door or put it on your wall, showing a client that you are really different in all what you do than your competitors do. I have done so in, with my client in Busselton and Bunbury in Western Australia. They put it on their front door. It's not a hearing aid dispenser. It's a company in the care sector, wheelchairs, electric beds, rollators, and so on, because they have the same challenge. What to do if a client tells me, I've seen an advertisement at the shop, I've taken this picture in Australia, they operate the same way. They're telling the clients, don't pay too much. These are thieves. They convince you of a very expensive hearing aid, which actually is not necessary. So how to deal with that? I go for that. So in my concept, I want that my students leave their own comfort zone, actually moving into a new comfort zone. This is what level 1 and 2 and the personal coaching are doing, that actually leave a concept behind which moves then in a growth zone, which I call that's the new comfort zone. I often ask, Oliver, then you have to come to Australia, being available in the training sessions face to face. Yes, I love to, because my daughter is living anyway in Australia. I'm quite often there. But couldn't it be then online training? Yes, it could, but it has a low effect. Online webinars are not effective. So I really need to come to you, because I want you that you move out of the comfort zone, the fear zone, that you learn skills, and that you, with all of that together, I help you to improve the business results. I do more than that. I informed Jane and Stephen a couple of months ago. I also have a level 5, actually. This is, we didn't discuss that in depth with the board, with Jane and with Stephen. It's about a one-day training workshop, which I give to shop owners and our shop managers. It's about the business strategy. It's about how do I really distinguish our shops from the big chains, the big boxes, about marketing, about managementship and leadership, and a lot more. So I'm doing that. I could also do that in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, even in Perth, if you want me to do so. Just think about it. Leads me to the part, why should we do that? Why should I do that? Look, these are a number of clients I have in Europe. I help them to lift their private out of the pocket sales, which means the high-end devices sales, from a basis percentage to a marvelous result. It's different client by client. Even so with OptiTrade, the service provider, they started somewhere, and since I help its members, it's the total picture has grown the past 3 years. So I want to do actually the same with you. That this is my goal, together with my approach concept, could also be the executive training part, really want you that you create fans with the help of my concept, that you lift turnover and profit, but you also that you increase your market share despite you have a huge competitor in the same town or same village. This is what I go for. I want to help you to create a new comfort zone by a proven successful concept. So I really want to help you to increase the financial results. I've done so, as I said, in Western Australia. This Joanne Mitchell, she's the CEO of Capabilities in Busselton. I want to share with you the testimonials, already sent them to Jane and Stephen. I have a testimonial of a customer here called HOR Partners, Hearing Partners in English. There's about 40 shops, and Arthur confirms what Oliver says, that you earn the investment back in Oliver's concept is true. It's can't be said nicer than that. I'm very proud of that, and it's always been my goal since 2006. I want that the customers confirm it's a very, very, very good concept Oliver has. We really earn it back, and I have much more testimonials. This one is the sales director of Start here in the Netherlands. Jeroen is an audiometrist. Yazi is a UK sales manager, which does that with her employees. So that's in very brief about my concept. So now I bet you have a lot of questions, and it would be my pleasure to answer them.